Okay, today I'm going to be talking about karma. Karma is a word that typically comes from the Eastern traditions or religions, and the meaning of it is usually associated with consequences of actions or causes and effects. And we know that basically everything we do has some kind of effect. But in terms of karma, one of the interesting things is that sometimes what it seems like happens is that we'll do something that is seen as bad. And it won't have an effect, as in there won't be a negative effect for the bad thing that we did. So we could have the example of, committing a crime and not going to jail. Or in the case of World War II, a lot of people like to look at Adolf Hitler and say, this guy, he shot himself and there weren't any consequences. He wasn't imprisoned. And if you don't believe in hell, then guys like Adolf Hitler, they're not punished in any way if they don't go to jail. And so lately I've been thinking about karma a lot, and I've been doing these dream experiments where I write down all my dreams in the morning, and sometimes I try to set an intention for the dream while I'm lying in bed before I fall asleep. And so, for example, one of the things I've been saying to myself is, tonight I'd like to dream about meeting with a spiritual teacher or taking a lesson of some kind in the dream. And I first came up with that intention because I felt like my dreams were kind of a waste of time, and I thought, if I could be learning something, then that would make my dream more useful, and then I wouldn't be wasting the evening doing nothing. I just thought I could be taking a lesson of some kind. And I thought a spiritual teacher would be the the vehicle that I would want to learn from. But then it was interesting because no real spiritual teachers emerged in my dreams, and instead I was still having all the dreams that I was used to with, family members and friends, and I guess I was disappointed, but mainly it's been making me think more and more about karma, because the pattern that I've noticed in my dreams is usually that the dream will have some sense, I'll have some sense that my dream is about a lesson that I've either already experienced in life, already had to overcome something like an addiction or an obsession with some kind of desire that wasn't healthy, or that I had to learn how to tame. And so as I grew up and started learning which habits were healthier, my dreams would change over the years, and it seems like it had something to do with these attachments or desires that I was that I couldn't get past. And then sometimes I would have a dream that was almost like a victory, when I was clearly in control of my I was more in control of my desires. And so I would have a nice dream where I no longer felt trapped in the desire, in the lesson anymore. And I'm saying that because that's why this notion of having a teacher, sometimes it did seem like the teachers in the dreams were friends and coworkers and like family members and things like that. But what I'm getting at here is, a lot of times this felt like karma. And the way that I now interpret karma is, during my waking life, right now, I'm awake and I have habits that I entertain and prolong, and then I have habits that I have cut off and I'm no longer willing to indulge in, and that includes certain thoughts and certain beliefs. Like, for example, not that long ago, months ago, I cut myself off from this worldview that each person on this planet has a higher self, which is outside their body, that they can communicate with, like telepathically or through intuitions and emotions, because I had no direct evidence that that was really happening, and I felt like it was a delusion that I was entertaining, and I didn't feel comfortable living with that delusion anymore. And so I just decided, I have no evidence that there's a soul out there sending me messages, and so, or in somewhere in my body, and so all I really know is that I have a brain that's producing thoughts, and I don't have any evidence that I'm sending those thoughts to another place or entity. And so I just cut myself off from the idea of that higher self or soul concept that I was, raised to believe in. And there's tons of psychics and priests and rabbis and monks and abbots that will tell you that that's happening and that your soul is communicating with you. But I didn't have any direct evidence myself, so I decided I would live without that. And so back to this idea of karma, what I think is going on in terms of consequences and actions is that we at least have the consequences of our actions manifesting in this lifetime, and we don't really know what comes after this. We don't know what happens when we die. It's not confirmed by much of anything. Even a lot of religions leave it wide open in terms of, is there another realm or non-physical places in the universe that our consciousness could exist? There's no definitive answers. Do we get reincarnated into another body right away? Doesn't seem like there's any definitive answers. And for whatever reason, some teachers and spiritual leaders won't even talk about it. It's not helpful to your spiritual path, they'll say. And so they just leave it wide open as a question. And so this concept of karma, it's also unanswered because we just don't know if these actions we're taking right now, if I kill something, an animal or another person, is that actually going to have an effect on me? It didn't have much of an effect on Hitler, other than he might have been in pain, suffering with his thoughts while he was alive. But once he died, that might have been it. I mean, he might not have ever paid the price for all the deaths that were surrounding him, and indirectly caused by him. So to conclude this brief talk about karma, We know that if we eat certain things, our body will look a certain way. If we overeat, our body might be bigger. If we undereat, our body might be smaller. If we exercise, same thing, our muscles will be stronger. If we run, our lungs will be more capable. And so, in some sense, karma is a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year cumulative effect of our actions. But in another sense, there's mystery about certain things that we could get away with in terms of bad deeds. Or even the flip side is, maybe you do something really good and you help a lot of people. You're Mother Teresa. And it's not until you die that you're made into a saint and everyone worships you or gives you credit. And if there's no heaven, maybe Mother Teresa never really got there was no good consequences for all the hard work she did. So I don't really know the answer. I know that when I do good things and I have good habits, typically my thoughts are more clear. I can live in a healthier state of mind. But it's not always, I'm not always seeing the fruit of my actions right away. Maybe some of these things take years. Some of the relationships with my family that have been rocky at times have taken decades to stabilize. And I don't know why it takes that long for some things to work themselves out. Maybe some of this karma is from another lifetime before I was alive here on planet Earth in 2024, and I'm just not really aware of that karmic energy manifesting in my life now. Maybe so I don't know about that, but I guess we'll find out when we die whether karma persists in our consciousness or is somehow stored in the universe. May all beings develop peace of mind.